no one made anyone do that, but that just naturally happened. And it was the best part of the show this year. It never had happened before. And yes, if you let people be people, they will always make amazing television for you.
Totally. What about Chris? You mean, you mentioned you were friends with Chris. Like, do you think he would ever be back?
I don't know. I don't know. I try to do a good job of not speaking for him. Like, he can speak for himself. All I can say is that Chris was always really wonderful to me. He was like a kind of like a mentor to me in the beginning. I remember after the first year of me doing Paradise, he kind of understood like my background, and he gave me a lot of good career advice. So I got nothing but love for him. And the truth of the matter is that I said this in an interview before, and I honestly don't know if this is true, but in my mind, Chris is going to go do something else, and it's going to be a big thing. And I'm excited to see what that is. But I don't know what's going to happen with him going forward with franchise or with any other, production company.
Well, talk about him as a mentor and following in his footsteps. You were, guest host on Paradise, master of ceremonies. Like, what's the best piece of advice he gave you?
It was like a lot of business stuff. Like, this is what you should do. This is what you should watch out for. And it's something that I probably had known subconsciously, but like one of the most powerful words to create success is one that you'd think would be the opposite, which is no. You have to like understand like what you should and shouldn't do. And that was something that you kind of explained to me, like you need to know when to say no to things. Because you can dilute yourself very quickly, and that was a good piece of advice.
Are you the type that normally says yes to everything?
I'm an absolute yes man. One, because I just like to have a good time. So anytime anyone's like, "You want to do this?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, man, let's go. That'll be so much fun." But then you can kind of weigh yourself thin, and then you're not giving your best. I think sometimes that happens on Paradise a lot, and they'll be like, "Hey, do you want to go? We're doing a game show. Will you go host this game show on Paradise?" And I'm like, "Yeah, hell yeah, it'll be so much fun." And then it'll be like a 18-hour shoot, and it'll be cut from the show. And I'm like, "Why did I do that? It was ridiculous. I sweated like a crazy person outside for 10 hours and didn't even make the show." So yeah, sometimes you gotta learn to say no.
I totally get it. Business wise, I say yes to everything too. And then you're like, wait a second, like you want me to do all this in 2 days? Like I'm going to have a mental breakdown, everyone.
Yeah.
I totally get it. Well, what about, there were other guest hosts this season, like Little John and Lance Bass, David Spade. Did you give them any advice? I mean, like I said, you have more Bachelor hours than anyone.
I mean, I can't give, they're actual celebrities. I'm just married or engaged to one. No, the Spade thing was funny. First of all, I'm a huge David Spade fan. I'm a big SNL fan. Like my like dream was to be a writer on SNL. Like that was my what's the thing in the yearbook where it says like most likely to superlative. My superlative in the yearbook was most likely to be a writer on SNL. That's what I wanted to be. So like getting to meet him and like hearing his stories, like I would. Here's the thing: I was a good radio host for a long time, which means I was a very good interviewer. So I was very, very good at making people talk about what I want them to talk about. And I don't even know if I tricked him, but I got him to tell a lot of Chris Farley stories on the beach this year, which was very cool. And we would have them mic'd up, and I remember going and talking to production and being like, we were all listening to. They weren't even in the room, but we were all listening to the Chris Farley interview you were asking, from Spade. I was like, yeah, that was really cool. Telling these old like 90s SNL stories. But for Spade, like here's the thing. The reason why he was on the show is because he's a fan of the show, and he does a thing that like we all kind of do, is we watch the show and make fun of it on our social media. And I remember him coming and I was like, here's the problem that you're gonna have. And Chris and I had this problem as well, is really hard to do that to their face. If the people are in front of you, it's much harder to be mean to them than it is when they're on TV. And he was like, yeah, it took him like, I think like 3 people walking down the steps to be like, you're right. I gotta be nice because they're just normal people. And so then we came up with like the funny bit of, the old men in the Muppets where they're up in the rafters, like talking trash about the Beagle production. And then we did that bit, which was Spade and I looking over Paradise, kind of making fun of everything. And so that's how we kind of got around it. I learned a lot. This is what I learned. Lil Jon is fucking awesome. Like, there's a part of me that was like, these are some odd choices to have on the beach. Not for nothing, but like, I mean, I love Lil Jon, but like, why is he here? And then he got there, and the energy that he brought into that production and like to the cast was so palpable and transmittable and great. And I was like, man, I need to remember to be like that on set whenever you can, like just exude as much positivity, because all that stuff gets sponged up, especially when people are like kind of tired and, dragging ass a little bit. So yeah, I actually probably learned more than I was able to give advice.
What's one thing like in particular you learned from like Spade or Little John or Lance Bass or any of them?
As I was saying, like the Lil Jon, like coming in and like
Just
bringing so much energy, that was like something that like, sometimes you come to work and you're just like, do this again,
right.
But like he always came in with just like a lot of fire, and it was awesome. And then I ended up like filming like this Heineken commercial with him afterwards, and that was wonderful because we just like hung out in Malibu for the day and like made this silly commercial together, and everyone loves working with him. Like I never heard anyone have a bad thing to say about him. And that's an important thing too to remember is you should be nice because you should want to be a nice person, but you should also be nice because everyone's gonna have a story about you in whatever you do. If you sell cars or you're on a weird reality show, it's all the same. And it's so much easier to hire the guy everyone likes than to hire the person that everyone's heard bad stories about.
Totally, I agree. What about, there's been so much great forward progress with like diversity and inclusion in Bachelor Nation. Like, do you think there would ever be a male or a female gay lead?
Yes. And I mean, we kind of did it with Demi a couple seasons ago on VIP. And it had to be a perfect storm, and not because like America's not ready for something like that. It's because you're also affecting the people who are who are on the show, and that's always like, you want to be super respectful of how they feel like they're being perceived by the world.